Welcome back to Capital City Beads. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a scalloped edge using some craft wire and a metal frame. For this project, I'm going to use a crescent moon shape. You can either use this as an earring in that moon shape along the edge, or you can turn it on its side and dangle chain from the 2 points and use it as a pendant. Either way, it's the same technique. You're going to need some chain nose pliers. You just want to make sure that the inside is totally smooth and doesn't have any teeth. Some snippers to snip that wire. 4mm Firepolish beads. And some size 11 seed beads. You can use any kind of seed beads you like. I prefer a round shaped seed bead for this project. The wire is 26 gauge and you need 3 feet for this size moon. If it's a smaller frame, you need less. If you're using something larger, you need more. But for this project, we need 3 feet of 26 gauge wire. Go ahead and pinch your wire about 1 inch from one end, stick it inside the moon, and wrap it around one side of that frame 3 times. And that wire is going to be going up towards the tip of that moon. And it's okay if your wire is not all pushed together right away. We're gonna scooch it. Scooch, technical term. So now that it's wrapped 3 times, scooch, 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 all the way to the end. You can use your chain nose plier to help get those wires nice and tight and lined up next to each other. This helps your project stay nice and clean and look really professional, having your wires nice and lined up. Snip that little excess off and you can smooth it down with your pliers so that you don't have a little bird edge that can catch on clothes or touch your skin. Once you've got that all positioned and you like how it looks, we're going to put on our first 4mm Firepolish bead. I have my beads out of the way because the wire is really springy and it kind of catches on stuff, so keep your beads to the side. That one bead goes on and goes all the way down to the frame. If you get a little loop like that, don't keep pulling or you'll get a kink. You want to make sure you kind of loosen that wire up. Once your bead's in position, you're going to wrap your wire around the metal frame 3 times. Once, go around twice, and on that 3rd time, we're gonna stop and make sure everything is nice and tight. You can use your plier to make sure those wires are nice and close to each other. I use my fingernails to scooch it in. Now you can put on your 2nd bead and you're gonna repeat the same step. You're gonna wrap that wire around there 3 times. As you move through this project, make sure to check that your wires are nice and close together before moving on to the next bead. So if they have a little bit of space between them, that's okay. Just use your plier and pinch them closer together so you have like a nice clean wrap before moving on to the next bead. For this size wire frame, I can fit 25 4mm Firepolish beads along this edge. We need to have an odd number of beads or the scalloped part with the seed beads will be uneven. So when you get towards the end, it's gonna look like you can't fit any more beads. Right now I have 23 beads on there and I'm gonna squeeze 2 more beads because I like this to be super full. The wire is a lot shorter now, so it's a little bit more manageable and not quite as crazy to wrap around. This is my 24th bead. I'm gonna slide it all the way on And I'm gonna guide my wire through with the tip rather than trying to shove it through like I was before. I'm gonna use the tip, kind of threading it like it was like a needle and thread. And you can really scooch those beads. They'll slide along that edge and you can really scooch them down to make room for those last 2 beads. So I'm going to scooch them all together. They move pretty easily. You got to use a little bit of muscle. And then I'm going to be able to squeeze my last bead on there. You could have stopped at 23 beads if you want to. You'll just have, one less loop and it'll be a little bit more spaced apart, but 25 fits on if you really make it happen. So the last one, it's a little tricky. You got to really position that wire up in the little nook of that moon to get it nice and secured before we start adding the seed beads. So you're gonna get that 3 wraps around and then we'll start the seed beads. I've got 25 beads all lined up nice and pretty. I just kind of double check to make sure everybody is in the right place before I move on. Now we're going to use our size 11 seed beads. These are check seed beads. I've also made some samples with my Yuki rounds and they look great as well. I'm going to put on 7 beads. You can put on 1 less or you can put on more if you want bigger loops. It really is up to you what you want to do, but I thought 7 fit really nicely around the 4mm beads. String those 7 beads all the way down, and those beads are going to wrap around that first fire polish bead, and we're going to stick our wire through the second bead. And it's kind of a tight fit, but it goes. You might have to give it a little muscle. Make sure that your wire doesn't kink, so guide it through slowly. And your beads are wrapped around. You can kind of pinch it and adjust it to make sure it looks the way you want it. Before adding the next one, you really want to yank that wire into the correct position so that your beads are going up and around the right side of the fire polish bead rather than kind of like crumpling in the front. So you're going to add 7 more beads. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to skip the 1 bead that it's closest to and go through the next one. So those beads are going to wrap around that 3rd fire polish and we're going to string our wire through that 4th fire polish. If you need to use your plier to help you pull it through, that's totally fine. Pliers that's what they're there for. Grab it and it'll help you yank it through if you're feeling like it gets a little tough. The really fun thing about wire is that it's super easy to manipulate. So if these loops aren't looking quite like you want them to, you can really use your fingers and use your pliers to help shape them into a nice arch. You're going to continue adding your 7 beads, looping around every other fire polish until you've come all the way to the end. I've been yanking at this with my plier for a while, so my end is a little crimped, so I just snipped it off. I had plenty of extra. So I'm going to add my last final loops and then I'm going to wrap it to tie it off. On this last loop, you are going to wrap your wire in that nook of the moon 3 times. Make sure that you adjust it. This guy's a little hard to get on there, so just be patient and go slow. You can really just shape and form your wire into where you want to go. You'll see I even struggled a little bit trying to make sure it went into the right place before I secured it. That wire gets wrapped around the moon 3 times. It does kind of overlap the previous wire that was there. This is just to finish that wire off. Snip it and then smooth it down with your pliers so that there's no little nub that can rub on your clothes or your skin. And then I'm going to go through and kind of do a little check to make sure all my loops are going the right direction. I stick my plier in that loop a little to help kind of give it a good arch if they're kind of squished. And that opens them up, and then you just can kind of form it, make it the way you want it to look, make sure everything's in its correct place. You can turn this into a pair of earrings. You can make another one and make a set of earrings. I'm going to make these as pendants, and I'm going to hang chain from the 2 ends and have a little crescent pendant. You could use jump rings and dangle things from the scallop loops that we created. The possibilities are really endless, and I'm excited to see what you guys make. Please find us on Instagram and tag us Capital City Beads so that we can see your finished product. All of the beads and supplies I used in this video are available on our website, www.capitalcitybeads.com. Thanks again.